Okay, question 7 from Pauline Farrington. She sent this via Facebook. Hi James, how can I keep my hydrangeas from getting too tall and twiggy? Ideally, I would like to keep it a small, round shape. So, hydrangeas are lovely plants. I have the flower head here. I'm going to assume that you've got the sort of this type of hydrangea with the big sort of bouncy head. Climbing hydrangeas are slightly different, and there are a couple of different little groups of hydrangeas. Just worth checking, but I'm going to just assume that you've got this type, and these normally can either be in sort of pinks or blues depending on the acidity of your soil. So if you've got climbing hydrangeas, the pruning time is just after they've finished flowering, whereas other hydrangeas like these, it's in sort of late winter, early spring is the best time to prune them. And in terms of keeping them in check and pruning them, you can either give them one really hard prune and be really quite brutal and cut them almost down to sort of stumps, a couple of inches from the ground. And that's okay. You'll lose a season of flowering, you get lots of new growth, that you won't get any flowers that next year. But if it's really got really overgrown, sometimes it's best to just cut it down, start afresh. If it's more of a manageable size, and you've got sort of, you're nearly in the sort of size and shape you want, and you just want to keep it like that, what you can do is cut about a third off. So like I was saying, sort of late winter, early spring, you can either cut out a third of the stems, so you can pick out, if you look at the whole bush, once all the leaves have dropped off, you can look at it and go, right, I'm going to cut out those 4 oldest looking stems, if that's a third of the overall plant. Cut those right down at the bottom, and they'll hopefully sort of cause some new shoots to come up over the years anyway. And the rest of it you can then just let it keep that one size. If you want the whole thing to come down in size, again, cut about a third of it off. So sort of, you can keep deadheading. Of course, they look, one of the joys of hydrangeas for a lot of people is the way the dead heads, I obviously hadn't cut this one back, so the dead heads stay on, and they look nicer than this one over the winter. They look kind of exactly like that, but just brown and dried off. And a lot of people like to keep them on. It looks kind of interesting, like a skeleton of the plant. So you can leave those on. Deadhead those as you're pruning, take those off. And then, as I said, cut about a third of the overall height of the shrub down. So if you've got a sort of 3-foot plant, take about a foot off, and then that'll keep it in check, and you'll get some nice flowers that coming year. And as always, like we've said, short pair of secateurs or loppers if they've got kind of nice and woody, cut just above. Hydrangeas are lovely to prune. They've got really obvious nodes. So if you're taking this off, you might cut it just above that node there, like that. You can discard that. Obviously that won't be like that. And then what you've got there, you've got the growth points that the next year's growth and flowers are going to come off. So they'll shoot out from there. That little tiny bit of there will just die off, but that's fine as long as you keep that relatively small. Nice cut on the top like that, nice and sharp with no crushing, and that should be happy as Larry. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much. Okay, question 8 comes from Patricia Doyle. She sent this via Facebook, and she said, "Hi James, any suggestions for killing mare's tail weeds? I've tried using Roundup on them, but they keep coming back." So it's a question particularly round here that I get asked a lot about. A mare's tail, they sort of start off coming out in a little sort of points like that, like a little spear that comes out of the ground, and as they get older they get this kind of feathery foliage that looks a bit sort of, I don't know, a bit like asparagus if you've ever seen that when it gets a bit long and leggy, or almost like a fern. It's not unattractive if you squint and grow it in amongst other plants. It looks okay, but it is a very pernicious weed and does keep on coming back, and it is very hard to get rid of. Mare's tail and its relatives have been growing since the time of the dinosaurs, and even the dinosaurs couldn't get rid of them by eating them, so they are pernicious. And the reason they grow so well is that they have something called silica within their plant cells, which is in glass, and it's different to other plants that we grow. So things like grasses, ornamental plants, their cells will absorb weed killers like Roundup, and it will kill them off. Mare's tail, they might absorb a little tiny bit of it, but basically it just washes off them. They don't absorb it. So you could pour Roundup on them. You might see a little bit of dying back, but really they'll just shake it off. They'll come back as strongly. In terms of getting rid of them, they have very fine little black roots. I just tried to pull some out and they break very easily, as you can see. So they'll sort of start off with a bit of stem, a bit of root, sorry, and then have these fine black roots that grow off them. And those, you can leave tiny bits in the soil and they will regrow from those, unfortunately. So, in terms of getting rid of them, your best option is either to ignore them, plant around them, and just ignore them and accept that they're going to grow in and amongst the plants and just not worry about it. But that's not great if they get into patios, onto grass. So I've seen it growing through grass and it sort of is a real pain. So it's best, if you can, to get rid of it. So you can either hoe off the tops, nice sharp hoe. If you constantly remove the top growth, they cannot photosynthesize and they will not come back eventually, but it will take time. You don't expect it to be a year, think more like 5 years, depressingly, but it will be something like that. But it will eventually get on top of them. Just be really careful to only be taking off that top bit, like that. Don't cut into the roots, because all you're doing is just making it worse. You're going to sort of multiply the numbers. So either just pull off like I've done, pull it off, and just keep doing that forever, or for the next, as I said, couple of years at least. The other thing would be to cover it with a mulch. So get like a weed membrane, cover it over with something like gravel. The nature of these, with their sort of, they come up a bit like a spear, like I was saying, they will often just poke through the membrane. So what I've had some success with is to put a less permeable membrane, so like a geotextile that's very, very thick, and then all the plants grow up to the surface. They can't really get through, and then if you lift that up after, say, a month, you'll see all of the top growth coming up, and it's very easy to then clear that, and they've sort of struggled up and they're weakened. So if you can do that, if you've got a bare bit of ground where lots of them are coming up, cover it over for a short period, as I said, a month or two, pull off the tops, and then at least you've got a bit of a head start on them. And then, as I said, just keep on pulling off the tops, but don't be tempted to chop up all the roots, because it will just make it worse. So I'm sorry I can't offer a more magic bullet solution, but if you persist, it will eventually go. And as I said, if you can try and keep it out of if you buy a new pot of something or buy some gravel and you see any of it, make sure you stick it straight in your green bin, or even burn it if you're really annoyed with it. So good luck. I hope that answers your question. Thanks. Question 9 comes from Danielle Tweedale. She sent this via Instagram. Thank you very much for your question. She said, "Hi James, do you have any advice for when it's the best time to cut lavender?" So lavenders are beautiful plants. They grow really happily in Mediterranean climates, and round here in Ainsdale and surrounding areas they grow really happily because of the sandy soil, and it's just the kind of soil they really enjoy growing in, and they do grow very happily. If you leave them alone, they tend to go really woody, so you end up with lots of sort of thick, gnarly looking stems that don't produce any new growth, really. They might produce the odd little bit, but really they don't produce any new growth, and they spread out and bulk out, and you just get the sort of top growth coming on these gnarly bits of wood. Doesn't really look its best. The pruning advice is little and often. So you prune after they've finished flowering, sort of late summer, and then you can cut off they have the nice flower heads and then a long bit of stem. And if you remove about sort of 2.5 centimetres, an inch of foliage with that stem, you can then keep those and dry them off, and you can end up with something a bit like a potpourri, a nice scent inside your house. So you just leave them upside down to dry off over a couple of months, and they should be quite nice to then have in your house. Obviously check for any little critters that seem to live in there. And by cutting off that 2.5 centimetres with the flower stem, if you keep doing that from a new plant, you should in theory keep it in check. It should just stay a nice little sort of mound. You want to end up with a sort of clump, like a football sized mound I suppose, of the plant. And then in sort of early spring, if it's just looking a little bit from the winter, if it's looking a little bit sort of shaggy, it's maybe got a bit damaged by frost or wind damage, you can just give it a quick trim over. Again, just taking off just a couple of centimetres, and then that'll encourage that new flush of growth. If you cut into the old wood, you're not going to get any success from that. It's not going to grow from that old wood. So as I said, you need to just cut back into fresh growth really. So if it has got long and leggy, in reality you're possibly best to just dig it up and start again with a fresh plant. They're not hugely expensive, so you can maybe think of them as a plant that only lasts for a certain number of years and just buy a fresh one. You can try, I think we discussed this in the last question and answer, you can try putting some soil over the top, and that will potentially sort of encourage some new shoots to come. It thinks it's sort of got buried down deeper, and you could try taking some cuttings just to give yourself some new plants. But as I said, possibly if it's got past the point of being very, very woody and you've got lots of just kind of spindly top growth, it might be best to cut your losses and just buy a whole new plant. So, but if you've got a nice small one, keep on pruning it regularly. That's the best advice there. I hope that helps. Thanks. Question 10. This is sent in from Lisa Bradshaw. She sent it in via Facebook. So she asks, when can I move my aces? Both planted in the wrong place. One has no light from a wisteria, the other is clearly suffering from drought. Should I pot them for a year to nurture them before planting in a different border? And finally, where is the best spot for them? Thank you kindly. So, aces are lovely, beautiful plants. Again, they grow very well around here. They seem to, once they get established, they seem to thrive in our quite sandy soils. But they do take a little while to get established, and they're quite slow-growing plants. They are in the maple family. They're sometimes called Japanese maples. So there's a little one here. This is what the leaves look like. You're growing them for the leaves, and they tend to be quite finely cut, and they come in sort of greens and dark purples. They look lovely if you can grow them over some water, and they can be reflected. They really suit that kind of tumbling over water look. But they are beautiful. So you're saying that you planted them in the wrong place. The one that has no light because of the wisteria, that's obviously going to just be unhappy. The other one is saying clearly suffering from drought. The damage they're very prone to wind damage, and it can look very much like the same damage that drought causes. So maybe just check with it that it's not just getting wind blown, because it just burns off the leaves and it looks like it's maybe suffering from underwatering. So maybe just double check that one, that it isn't maybe okay and it's just getting wind blown. We have one in our front garden. It's very, very tall. It's about sort of 10 foot tall, and that each over the winter gets kind of wind damaged, and the new growth just starts slightly lower down, and that top growth is just it dies and breaks off eventually. So, but assuming that they are both in the wrong place, the best thing to do is to wait until the leaves have dropped off, so autumn time. Let them enjoy the autumn colour. Let the leaves fully drop off, so any time from sort of, I suppose, November onwards, right through till springtime. Again, I'd probably do it in autumn. It gives them a chance to settle into their new home. And I wouldn't personally pop them on. I'd get them into their new home. So get your planting hole ready, dig that in advance, about the size that you think it's going to be. Introduce some well-rotted organic matter, so some horse manure or some fresh compost of your own. Get that into the hole, mix it in with the soil. You could put in some bone meal, that'll help with the rooting, but again, round here they probably should be okay, but a bit of that in there will help it. And then dig it up, get as much of the roots out as you can, sort of start further away and move in. If they've only been in a couple of years, they've probably not put out many roots, so you can probably just dig out a little way, bring them up, put them straight into the new hole, and make sure that you water them in, and then they should be happy. They'll grow quite happily in most parts. I know your garden, but they'll grow in most parts of your garden. They're quite happy in almost any spot. It's more to do with the sheltering. So they can grow quite happily in shade or in more sort of full sun, as long as they're sheltered from the wind. It's the wind around here that they really hate. So as long as they're protected from the wind, and that could be next to a fence, it could be in amongst some other plants, or it could be, make your own little sort of windbreak for them, and then they should be quite content. I'd probably err on the side of putting them somewhere slightly sort of dappled shade, I think, around here, given that the soil is so sandy, and then they stand a bit of chance of sort of staying with enough moisture. But as I said, just make sure that they've got wind protection, and obviously they will get to be trees eventually. They will grow up to be a decent sized tree potentially. So also think about where you're planting them, that they do have enough room, but obviously that is going to take quite a long time. So I hope that helps, and good luck with them, because they are beautiful plants. So thank you. Question 11, final question. So this has come from Chris Woolers via Instagram, so thank you very much for your question. And he asks, can I ask how you became so handsome, please? So obviously I'm glad somebody has finally asked the question that we've all been asking ourselves. So, what I think I should put it down to is good genes. Obviously, take my mum and dad's into account, but it's working outside all the time, Chris. Weather beats my face, so I look particularly handsome. So yes, it's natural goodness of being outside. So I hope that answers your question. So don't do a desk job, which pays well. Come outside and be a gardener that doesn't pay so well. So that's my top tip. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your great questions. That brings us to the close of the question and answer sessions. Get your thinking caps on. We'll do another one at some point soon. I hope you've enjoyed it. I just thought I'd mention the plant behind me, because it gets quite a lot of compliments when we're in other people's gardens, is a hibiscus. So it has these beautiful flowers. Doesn't really do much over the winter, and suddenly you think it's going to be dead, and then suddenly burst into leaf, burst into flowers. About this mid-July at the moment, end of July, and it has these beautiful sort of blue flowers. You can get them in pink, absolutely gorgeous. So a real lovely plant to grow in and amongst other plants. Don't grow it on its own because it does look pretty dull for quite a lot of the year, but when it does flower it looks absolutely spectacular. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at that in the background. So I just want to say a big thanks to the people that have helped. So my two sons, Matthew and Alex, have helped. They're going to come on and give us a bow now. So yes, thank you, yes, thank you. They've done really well and helped with the filming, and my wife Victoria has also helped as well with everything. She doesn't want to come onto the camera, so that's fair enough. So as I said, we'll try and maybe do another question and answer session coming up. So if you've got any more questions, we might do one sort of end of the summer. So as I said, get your thinking caps on for then. I'll let you know when that happens. So I'll post this up onto YouTube and you can view it, and I will try. I did promise last time I couldn't work out a way of posting it, but I'll try and do a list of the plants that I've suggested somehow, and for last time as well. So I'll try and get that up onto some internet-based forum. So I hope that all helps all the questions. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.